Welcome to part 3 of our series called Don't Quit in the Dip. I pray that you have gotten the book already, blessed a friend with it. It really is my heart to help everybody who feels stuck. And it feels like we're in a worldwide dip right now in so many different areas. It feels like I'm in a 7-layer dip, you know? And I am praying that God would use this message to help you wherever you are, whatever you're going through. So we're going to jump in the message in just a moment, but before we do that, let me give you 2 quick announcements. Number 1, we have a women's night, September 4th, this Friday. It's called Unleashed. Alex Seeley is going to be preaching. You do not want to miss this, ladies. All the ladies in the house. Listen, you need to go to our website, sign up right now, and make sure that you get your spot. And then tell some other girls to come join you. I think it's going to bless their life. And again, thank you so much for your generosity in this season. You have blessed us like crazy. And if you'd like to give, we never tell people to give. We simply say, pray. Ask God what you should do. Like, when's the last time we paused and said, God, what should I give? And then do that. So there's zero pressure from us. But thank you, because together we're doing so much more than we could do alone. Last weekend, we gave another $5,000 to fire victims out in the Vacaville, Fairfield area. Thank you so much for your generosity, guys. Amazing. And then we had this Category 4 hurricane hit America, the Gulf and Louisiana. We're helping and we're giving. If you want to give today towards that, we're giving again towards that need. And there's so many different areas we're giving locally, nationally, and around the globe. And guys, thank you. Thank you, because you are a generous church. Small groups just kicked off, and I know I said 2 announcements. I was kidding. There's 3. The third one is I want you to go join a small group right now. Everybody that's in a small group has been DMing me, telling me how amazing it is, and it's all going through the book, Don't Quit in the Dip. Because who do you know right now that's not feeling stuck in at least one area? That's everybody, all of us. So together, corporately, we're going to join together and help each other get out of the dip. Come on, everybody. You're coming out of the dip. You're not going to stay there. Today is a message that is very dear to my heart. And as I get into this, I want you to just open up your heart for the next few moments we have together. This is the best series to bring a friend to, because I can guarantee you they have at least one area where they feel stuck. Like one area that's not as polished as they want you to believe. And at least one area on social media that's not as polished as they portray. Come on, am I talking to anybody? So you had to light up that comment section today, wherever you're watching on social media. Our family around the world, we welcome you. And today our message is entitled, Don't Settle. Diane and I, we are coming out of a long day of meetings in Los Angeles several years ago. I was on a hunt, and my taste buds were my compass. We've been in meetings all day long, and we came out of this conference, and we were hungry. Okay, how many know there's a difference between being hungry and being hungry? Come on, wave at me on the comment section. We were hungry. We were so starving. And I had a particular, very specific culinary experience that I wanted to find. I was not going to settle for anything less than God's perfect will for my life in that moment. So you know when you're hungry and you're pining for a certain type of food. We're looking all around. And Diana, not so much. It was about an hour's worth of driving through the maze that is Los Angeles, and she was done. Like, she literally turned over to me and she was like, okay, enough, Shaun. Just pick anything. Like, just pick any. I'm so tired. Come on, how many can relate? Do you know somebody like that? She pointed then to a fast food restaurant, and she said, look, there's something we can eat right now. Now, listen, when you're tired, your judgment is thrown off, okay? Let me just tell you, I wasn't about to settle for fast food in this moment, because I had something in my mind. I wanted the very best that I could get. I wanted some ribs. I wanted some mashed potatoes. I wanted that chocolate molten lava cake. Woo! Glory be to Jesus. So we're there, and I just want to say, fast food a couple times a month, it's not going to harm you. You'll still be okay. A constant diet of those types of decisions, that'll put you in the hospital. My point is, in life, you have to be careful that you don't make so many fast food decisions. That you're not just trying to find out what's here in front of me instead of what God has for me. Like God has a preferred plan for your life. He has something great for your life. Don't settle for anything less than God's best. And today, I'm thinking about where we are in society. I'm thinking about where we are in life. There are a lot of people who are so tired, so overwhelmed, so exhausted, feeling so defeated. And in moments like this, you have to be very careful because you might just settle for something less than God's best for your life because you're just tired. So tired, so deflated in our spirit. You know, you used to be hopeful and then something has changed. And if you're not careful, when you don't think God's best is within reach, here's what you do. You'll settle for mediocrity. People always settle for mediocrity when they doubt God's best. Okay, I'm going to need you at home, wherever you're watching this, to communicate the sermon title to yourself. Everybody say this out loud. I'm not going to settle. Come on, say it one more time. I'm not going to settle. Don't settle for anything less than God's best for your life. Don't even settle for viewing God at a distance and thinking He's a God at a distance but not a God to be experienced. Don't settle. Don't settle for anything less than God's best for your life. And don't believe the lie that God doesn't have more available for you. God does have more available for you. And in the book, I talk about this. There's a whole chapter dedicated to not settling. And you can buy the book wherever books are sold. My heart is, I want you to get out of the dip. For so many people, they're starting to get comfortable in the dip. They're starting to settle in the dip. And it's getting me nervous. If I'm honest, it's getting me nervous. Because a lot of people are settling where they shouldn't be settling. And they've stopped believing God for more. I want to encourage you, don't settle. Believe God for more. There's still more available. But He needs you not to settle and He needs you not to give up. Don't quit in the dip. Come on, shout that out with me, everybody. Don't quit in the dip. There's a story in the Bible, the book of Numbers, chapter 32. Here's a brief backdrop and setting. God's people were in slavery for 400 years to Egypt, to a man named Pharaoh. If you've seen The Prince of Egypt, you're basically caught up to speed. They cry out to God. God sends a deliverer named Moses. Moses comes, and through a series of miraculous events, God's people are set free. It is a beautiful, beautiful story. But anytime God brings you out of something, He also brings you into something. See, a lot of people get so excited because they come out of, but you'll never be fulfilled until you go into. God has a plan. He has a purpose. He has a preferred destiny for your life. And it wasn't enough for God just to take the people out of bondage. He wanted to take them into His blessing. He was taking them to a city called Canaan, which was the promised land. Canaan, the promised land. Canaan, the promised land. His people walked out of slavery for 400 years. Can you imagine what that day must have felt like? For 400 years, there was no future. There was no dream for them. They were stuck for 400 years. When they left, God was going to take them only about a 14-day journey to Canaan, the promised land. Can you imagine what that day would have been like when they left? They would have been so elated. Overwhelmed. I mean, they're making new TikTok dance videos. They're doing every type of dance. They are celebrating, high-fiving everybody. They have dreamt of this moment of being free. And now they are free. And they're filled with faith. They walk over to the Red Sea. God opens up the Red Sea. They walk across on dry land. And they make it to the edge of the promised land. And they realize something. It ain't for sale. It's already being inhabited by the Canaanites. And so they sent 12 spies in. 12 spies. They go in. Doom, 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 doom. And they go in. They spy out the land. They come back. They're like, man, this land, it is amazing. And only 2 out of the 12 say, guys, we could do this. God is with it. Let's go in right now. The other 10 punked out and said, there's no way. They looked at everybody in the land and they start to exaggerate the facts. They're like, these guys are all giants. Every one of them. I don't know what they're feeding these corn-fed Canaanites, but they are massive, and we are grasshoppers in their sight. Interesting fact, the Canaanites never said that the Israelites were grasshoppers. This is what they said about themselves. Right. So now they have a wrong view of God and a wrong view of themselves. Wow. You're in a dangerous position when you have a wrong view of God and a wrong view of yourself. Isn't it funny, though, how quickly they forgot the miraculous move of God just 2 weeks ago? Like literally, God freed them from with 10 plagues. They watched it happen, didn't come near their house, and then they're walking, and God opens up the Red Sea. They literally walk across on dry land. They see the first aquarium in the history of the world. They walk over to the Promised Land, filled with faith, and all of a sudden they forget all that. Why is it that when we come to a new problem, we forget how God delivered us from the last one? Why do we have selective amnesia when it comes to believing God for more? Like, guys, His credit ought to be good with us. Come on, has God ever done anything for you? Has He ever delivered you? Has He ever come through? Has He ever healed you? Has He ever brought you peace? Has He ever done anything for you? And the truth of the matter is, even if He never did another thing for us, He would still be worthy. He's given us salvation. Jesus died in our place. He gave us forgiveness and grace, rose for us, and He promises eternal life. If that was all He did, He would still be good. And yet He promises us an eternal life and an abundant life right here on earth. Why is it that so often we are so quick to forget what God has done? How wild is it how willing we are to settle because we're afraid to believe God for more? This is where we find the people of God in Numbers chapter 32. Doubt starts to spread amongst the congregation. And just 2 weeks prior, they saw God do the miraculous. And now they're deathly afraid. By the way, these were not just novice people. These were leaders. 12 leaders. Only 2 said, guys, we could do this. Like when God steps up, I would rather err on the side of believing God than doubting God. Right. 10 of them were like, there's no way we could do this. Not happening. There's no way. Here's what I come to realize. That quitting is a mindset. Giving up is a mindset. In the book, this chapter, Don't Settle, it's going to help you because throwing in the towel is a mindset. Settling in the dip is a mindset. And I say this in the book, that our lives are affected and directed by the way we think. And the way we think determines the way we live. So 10 tribal leaders come back and they're like, there's no way we can do this. Their negative report spreads throughout the entire congregation and everybody starts to doubt. Why? Because negative is more contagious than COVID. Have you ever had somebody jump in your life negative? Just always negative. Always pessimistic. Always believing the glass is half empty. And always believing we can never do this. And they're so quick to say no to something. I want to be a yes man. I don't mean a yes man like a yes man, I just agree with everything that somebody else says. But when it comes to God, I want to be a yes man. Yes, God. If you said it, I could take that to the bank. If you said it, I'm going to stand on your word. Come on, everybody. Don't settle for anything less than God's best. Only Joshua and Caleb believed God. Crazy to think that everybody settled in the dip. And in our minds today, how do we relate this? It's always easier to settle than it is to believe God for more. That's where some of us are today. We are starting to settle. We're starting to change our address to 555 Dip Street. I guess I'm just going to be stuck in the dip my entire life. I guess I'll never make it out. I guess I will never see my dream fulfilled. And that's why I wrote the book, to help people get out of the dip. Listen, pretty soon, everybody in this story started talking about killing Joshua and Caleb simply for trusting God and believing Him for more. Like, that's crazy to me. They were ready to kill these 2 people. Everyone said it can't be done. And finally God said, all right, because of your murmuring and complaining, your unbelief, your disobedience, you can wander in this wilderness. Instead of believing me for more, you can go ahead and have a 40-year dip. And they did. For 40 years, they wandered aimlessly in the desert. Remember, this whole generation would die off. Their corpses would litter the wilderness until a new generation rose that believed God for more. Remember, there's always God's way, and then there's our way. Both might lead to a wilderness, but with God, you can actually come through the wilderness. Both can lead to a dip, but with God, you can actually come out of the dip. Come on, everybody, let's not follow our way. The Bible says there is a way that seems right to a man, but the end is death. It's destruction. We don't want to follow our own way because we don't know where we're going. Many of us have found ourselves in a spiritual wilderness in this season. Feeling so dry spiritually, like you don't feel as close to God as you once were. Do I have anybody's attention in the comment section? Like, does anybody know what it feels like? You're looking back and you remember you used to be closer to God than you are right now. You miss His presence. You miss the good old days. It's crazy because with God, they're not good old days just in the past. He can make the good old days right now. He can prepare a table before you in the presence of your enemies. He can cause a lily to grow in the valley. He can turn the valley of Achor into a door of hope. He can turn this whole thing around. He can use it for His good because God works all things together for good to those who love Him and who are called according to His purpose. Many of us who are settling in the dip need to wake up and realize He has a preferred plan. He has a preferred future. And when you're living outside of what God has for you, you miss what God has for you. I don't want you to miss anything else of what God is delivering. So we pick up our story in Numbers chapter 32. All of that was by way of introduction. You're welcome. Let's get to the sermon. Numbers chapter 32 is the people now have been wandering the wilderness for 40 years. Okay, that's a long time. 40 long years. And now they come to the edge of the promised land a second time. They have dreamt about this moment. They've sung songs about this moment. They've heard stories about this moment. They can't believe it. The 12 tribes, they come to the east side of the Jordan River. All they have to do is cross the Jordan River, and there's Canaan, there's the promised land, there's Jericho. God's going to have the walls come down. They're going to go in. It's going to be amazing. And then we have 2 tribes out of the 12 say, don't think we're going with you. Look at Numbers 32, verse 1. The tribe of Reuben and Gad. Everybody say Gad. Say, oh my Gad. The tribe of Reuben and Gad, who had very large herds, we'll come back to that in a moment, and flocks, saw that the lands of Jazer, not Jay-Z, Jazer and Gilead, say Gilead. They were suitable for livestock. So they came to Moses and Eleazar the priest and to the leaders of the community, and this is what they said. The land the Lord subdued before the people of Israel are suitable for livestock, and your servants have livestock. If we found favor in your eyes, they said, let this land be given to your servants as our possession. Do not make us cross the Jordan River. Moses gets irate. If you read the story, he's like, this is exactly what your forefathers did. I can't believe it. This is 40 years ago. This is what your parents did. We had to wander in a 40-year dip, and now you're going to do the same thing? They said, no, we'll come over. We'll fight, but we're not going to receive any inheritance. Look at Numbers 32, verse 19. We won't receive any inheritance with them on the other side of the Jordan because our inheritance has come to us on the east side of the Jordan. Let's take a little quiz. Where were they supposed to be going? Everybody say Canaan, the promised land. Canaan, the promised land. Where did God tell them to go? Canaan, the promised land. Where was the promise? In fact, Canaan, the promised land. And Gad, the tribe of Gad, looks at everybody else and says, I know this isn't God's will for us. I know God has more for us on the other side of this Jordan River. I know that this might not be His preferred plan, but if it's all the same to you, we're just going to go ahead and stay on the east side of the Jordan River. Instead of crossing over, we'll stay here. Instead of believing God for more, we'll stay here. Instead of obeying God fully and walking fully into what God has for us, we're choosing to stay over here. Here's what's scary. God gave them their request. Do you know if you're not careful, God sometimes gives you your request even when it's outside of his perfect plan. Be careful what you ask for. Fasting and prayer is not just to get God to do something we want. He's not a vending machine. Fasting and prayer is aligning our hearts to his so that his desires become our desires. And so when we ask him for something, it's already in his will. Are y'all hearing me out there? Numbers 32, verse 40. This is so scary, so sad. So Moses gave Gilead to them. And look at these next 4 words. And they settled there. And they settled there. They come 40 years through the wilderness, come so close, and settle. Why did they settle? It's a big question. I think maybe they settled for some of the same reasons you and I settle today. Let me give you 3. Number 1, they could have just been tired. And in their defense, guys, they have been traveling through the wilderness for 40 years with their kids screaming in the back. Can you imagine this big old caravan? The kids are like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? I have to go to the bathroom. I have to go to the bathroom. And the dad's like, no, you should have gone to the last cactus. I'm not stopping again. Like 40 years of this. We live in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area. And our daughters, we all love Disneyland. I can't wait to go back there. And so we're about 6, 7, 8 hour drive, depending on traffic. And I'll never forget, we were on our way to Disneyland one time. And our daughters were all in their car seats, real young. And you jump in the car, and you know your daughters, your kids, they have zero understanding of time. We've been riding in the car for 15 minutes, and the questions they start asking is, are we there yet? And then as a parent, you look at them, you're like, it's so cute. Oh, look at Diana, it's so cute. They're the best. No, kids, we're not there yet. About another 10 minutes, you start hearing them complain. Dad, she keeps hitting me. Yeah. And so I'm like, Diana, I got this one. Don't hit your sister. Crushed it. Such a great parent. Drive. And you know what happens about 5 minutes later? Dad, she's touching me. And you turn around. Well, don't touch your sister. 10 minutes later, Dad, she's looking at me. Now, parent, this is when you lose it, right? You were patient for a little bit, and then all of a sudden, parents have this weird ability. Kids, do you know what I'm talking about? Parents have this ability to be driving and turn around 180 degrees to talk to your kid, and I just lose it. I'm like, don't you look at her. Don't touch her. Don't you hit her. Sit on your hands, be statues for the next 7 hours. I'm telling you, I will turn this van around. I will kill Mickey Mouse. No, I didn't say that. But you just start losing it, trying to get them to just be quiet. Like, it's so frustrating. You're on your way there. Could it be that they were just so tired of 40 years of this? Where are we going? I don't know. Nowhere. Let's just drive. We have no destination. When we're on our way to Disneyland, oftentimes we'll stop halfway when we're almost there. There's a place called Bakersfield. And Bakersfield's an interesting city. God bless it. There's a truck stop there. What if we just stopped on our way down to Disneyland with my family and I said, you know what, guys? I think we should just stay here. You know, it's a nice truck stop. Some of the vending machines work. Get that D2, little mini Oreo cookies. They have metal toilets. Keeps it cool in the summertime. Nice truckers. Let's stay here. No. We would never stay at a truck stop. We're trying to go to the land of the $20 churro, everybody. The happiest place on earth. Why would we stop and settle at a truck stop when we're trying to get to Disneyland? Okay, silly analogy. But can I just say that's what a lot of people are doing right now in life? God has so much in store for you in eternity and down here on earth. And so many people are settling for less than God's best. But again, in their defense, they knew that to continue on meant more time, expending more energy, more battles. And so in verse 1, they literally said, this land is suitable. Translation, it'll do. They settled. Just like Diana settled in the opening story, when I was trying to find the right restaurant, she's like, anything will do. Your judgment is thrown off when you're tired. Listen. Fatigue leads to frustration, and frustration leads you to settle for something inferior. Let me say it again. Fatigue leads to frustration, and frustration always leads to you settling for something inferior. Do you know when you get tired? You're just like, I don't care anymore. Any job will do. Any bozo will do. Like when you're so tired, it doesn't even matter anymore. That's where they were. Maybe that's where you are today. Why do we settle? Sometimes because we're tired. And I don't feel like I can go on. You know the number one answer to the question, hey, how you doing? Is I'm tired. Of course we are. I'm tired of COVID. I'm tired of racial insensitivity and injustice and inequality. I'm tired of 2020. I'm tired of a dip. Anybody out there testify that you might just be a little tired? And the devil loves when you get tired because your judgment's thrown off and you start to settle for something inferior because you start doubting what God has for you. If you're there, I've got some good news. If you're tired, you need to know there's still hope. Amen. Galatians 6:9 says, let us not become tired, weary in doing good. Why? For at the proper time, you will reap a harvest if you don't give up. Why did I write this book? Because I don't want you to give up. I want you to reap the harvest that God has for you. Isaiah 40 says this, do you not know? Like, have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He will not grow tired or weary in his understanding. No one can even figure it out. He gives strength to everybody who's tired and increases power of the weak. Even youth grow tired and weary. They can't just run all day. They crash. Even youths get tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who hope in the Lord. Listen, here's what God's going to do. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow tired and weary. They will walk and they will not faint. If you're tired, you need to put your trust back in the Lord. Because sometimes we settle because we're tired. Number two, write this down. Sometimes we settle because we're distracted. Like it is so easy to get distracted. Like you're so focused over here and then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, squirrel. I mean, just so distracted. We live in a distracted society. Proverbs 29:18 says, without vision, people perish. We've got to keep vision in front of you. That's why small groups are so important. You need other people during the week to encourage you. That's why coming to church is so important. Next weekend, 9 o'clock, outdoor service, Antioch. Rhyme, I didn't even mean to. But I'm just telling you guys, you need this. You need to tune in on church. You need a church online. You need a small group. You need some people that are going the same way as you to help. When I get distracted, vision leaks, man. I get so fired up. You ever been so fired up at a conference or a church service, and then like 2 weeks later, you forgot it all? Like what happens? Can anybody relate to getting distracted? Some of you distracted right now. Put your phones down unless you're watching TV. Church. We feel so motivated in the beginning of the week, and then that changes. Like, let's be real. All right, real talk. Have you ever been super motivated to start eating healthy on Monday, and then they bring donuts into the workplace on Wednesday? They're like, would you like some donuts? You're like, well, I really should. Okay. Something changed. Like on Sunday, you're motivated to work out, and you're like, I'm going to start working out on Monday. Monday comes, and you're like, I meant next Monday. Have you ever been motivated to be a better parent, a better spouse, a better child, a better employee, better employer, a better Christian, a better follower of Christ, a better student, and then all of a sudden you get distracted? That's what happened to the group in our text. They're following God on their way to the promised land, and they settle for something less than God's best. They settle for a city called Gilead on the east side of the Jordan River when they could have had the promised land. And how were they distracted? Verse 1 says they had very large herds. Okay, wait a second. They look around. They say, we have very large herds, and this land is suitable for our herds. Let's just stay here. They stay in Gilead because of the herds that they acquired. I did a little research, and I dug in the Bible and found out where they acquired those herds. They acquired them as a blessing from God from previous battles. And now you're telling me that those herds are going to keep you from following God? Here it is, everybody. The question is not, does God want to bless you? The question is, can you handle the blessing of God when it comes, or will it prohibit you and become a stumbling block from you following God later? That's what happened to the tribe of Gad. They were blessed by God, turned around, and that blessing became a stumbling block, and they said, you guys go into the promised land. I know this isn't God's will for us. We're going to stay on the east side of the Jordan River in a city called Gilead. And they said, this is what they said, it looks good. It may look good, but it's not what God has for you. Just because something looks good doesn't mean it's what God has for you. Here's something else that's crazy. In Numbers 14, remember I told you? When they first came out of slavery, 400 years of slavery, the devil tried to get them to go back to slavery. Like all the people were choosing other leaders. It's dangerous to follow the crowd in the Bible. They were always wrong. They're like, let's nominate some new leaders and go back to Egypt. If I'm there, I'd be thinking, seriously? This is on the table right now. You want to go back to slavery, back to the whips, back to the bricks, back to the bond? That's a viable option right now. Listen, if you're not careful, the devil will help you glorify your past. Don't romanticize where God brought us from. The devil would love to remind you of a couple laughs that you had, but he will not remind you of the endless tears of desperation you prayed, gripping that steering wheel, crying out to God, God, if you're real, please get me out of this. And he did. And now you're tempted to go back? Thank God they didn't go back. And the devil knew that wasn't going to work. So now he's like, I can't get them to go back. So just stay here. It's like go back to your past or stay here, anything but going into the promised land. Wow. And maybe the devil's trying to get you to stay stuck, to settle. Maybe he knows he can't get you to go back to your old life. Okay, that's great. But equally as big of a threat is to stay stuck and settle because you're not moving forward into what God has for you. Can you tell I'm burdened for this? I want to tell you, don't ever make a permanent decision based on a temporary circumstance. Don't ever make a permanent decision based on a temporary circumstance. You might feel stuck right now. You might feel like God is far and distant. He's not. He's close. He still has a plan. He still has a purpose. And I'm just here to tell you that the people of Gad, instead of going into the promised land, they settled in a city called Gilead. Let me make it plain. Gilead is not worth it. Don't sacrifice Cain in the promised land for Gilead. God has a promise. He has a plan. He has a destiny. This is not the time to get spiritual ADD and start fogging out. Listen, everybody, stay focused on God's promises for your life. Come on, clap your hands wherever you're watching and say a good amen. God has more for you. And some people get tired. They settle. Some people get distracted and they settle. Which is interesting because if the devil can't get you to quit, he'll get you distracted. Because to him, it doesn't matter. A distracted leader is just as bad as a quitting leader because both stop building. That's so Number 3, write this down. A lot of people settle because they just lose hope. Gad wanted to stay on the east side of the Jordan River instead of following God's plan into the promised land. They had that promise for 40 years. And now to come so far. They literally said, did you catch it earlier? The verse literally said, our inheritance has come to us on the east side of the Jordan River. How many times have we tried to convince God where our inheritance ought to be? Wow. Let me say it this way. Gad's inheritance was not God's inheritance. Oh, I unpacked this in the book. Don't miss it. There's a whole chapter entitled Don't Settle. But I fear that there are too many people that have settled to come so far. Like they would settle in Gilead and everybody else would go on to the promise. They would be able to see the promised land from their doorstep. They would hear the songs of jubilation from their family members who went on to the promised land while they stayed in Gilead. They settled. What about you? Where have you settled? Where at one point you were hopeful, but now you find yourself talking yourself out of believing God for more. And you're starting to think, I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too broke, I'm too damaged, I've gone too far. Where is it that you've lost hope? And for all of your wandering hearts, and all of your temptation to throw in the towel, can I just remind you, there's still hope in God. Let me give you 3 verses. Romans 8 says, for in this hope we were saved. But hope that is seen is no hope at all. Who hopes for what they already have? But if we hope for what we do not have, then what do? We got to wait for it patiently. Listen, just because you're waiting doesn't mean you're patient. I know some of you feel like God is taking way too long. Keep waiting. Keep hoping. Be joyful in hope. Patient in affliction. Faithful in prayer. Our Thursday night prayer meetings are so critical. You praying by yourself, so critical. Read the Bible. Worship alone. Then come to church to our outdoor services. Go through Growth Track. Tune in online. Don't like put this thing in cruise control, and definitely don't go in reverse in this season. We've got to go forward. May the God of hope fill you. It's my prayer for you with all joy and peace as you trust in Him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. What happens when you begin to be filled with the power and the hope of God, it starts to bubble up and overflow into the streets that you live in. It affects your family members, your team at work. It affects your schoolmate. You need the hope of God to start overflowing in your life. Let me give you 3 points. You ready for this? 3 points. Write this down. Write this down. It's going to be a game changer today. Number 1, don't settle. Whatever you do, don't settle. Like, don't give up. Don't settle for less than God's best for your life. Trust God for more. Follow God for more. You ready for number 2? Number 2. Don't settle. Whatever you do, don't give up. Don't settle for less than God's best for you. You still have vision for your life. Your life does not have to be meaningless. It doesn't have to be empty or hopeless. Don't settle. Okay, number 3, write this down. You ready for this? Don't settle. Whatever you do, wherever you go, don't settle. Let's believe God for more. Let's surrender for everything that we are, God. We surrender to you. Go after what God has given you. I'm telling you, He is still the one, to Him who is able to do immeasurably more than we can ask or imagine, according to the power that is at work within our lives. Don't settle. I want to be the type of people in 2020, even in a dip, that we all grab arms and we walk into our promised land together. Come on. We don't want to leave anybody in Gilead. We don't want to leave anybody in the dip. But you're coming out in the name of Jesus Christ. I'm praying for you that you just don't settle. Don't settle for anything less than God's best for you. He has more available. With your heads bowed and your eyes closed, don't tune off. Let me lead you in a prayer that you can pray right now. It's a commitment prayer. Because Jesus Christ died for us, rose for us, and He said if we place our faith and trust in Him alone for salvation, He would forgive us, cleanse us, wash us, and have eternity as our reward. If that's your heart and you say, Shaun, I need a fresh start. I've settled. Or I'm not as close as I once was to God. I've drifted away. It's a dangerous place to be. It is also scary when you begin to believe that the problem in front of you is bigger than the God inside of you. You can make it through. It's not going to be easy. I'm not promising easy. I'm promising peace. I'm promising God in the middle of a storm. I'm promising the more that He has to offer. He wants relationship with you forever. This is your heart, right where you are. Just pray this out loud. Say, Lord Jesus, thank you for loving me first. Today I give you my life. Forgive me from my sin. Wash me clean. Be my Lord and Savior. I'm all yours. Help me to make the biggest difference I can by pointing people to you. Let me pray for you. God, I pray for everybody watching today. I ask in the name of Jesus that you would reawaken motivation inside of them. Everybody who started to settle, everybody who started to give up, Lord, I speak life into them right now. They are not going to settle. They're going to be filled with hope, overflowing with hope in their marriages, with their children, with their parents, with school. I thank you that in the midst of all of this chaos in the nation and the world, we have a God who is above it all. And so we give our life afresh to you, and we invite you, God, please come rescue us in this time, because when our hearts are overwhelmed, we don't want to run to anything else other than you. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Everybody say good amen. Come on, let's clap our hands and thank God for everybody who prayed that prayer. So proud of you today. Don't settle and don't quit in the dip. Listen, as many of you are prepared to join a small group, you can go to our website right now and go shopping for one. Every small group's going through my brand new book, Don't Quit in the Dip, because people are in a dip. We're in a worldwide dip. And if you don't have the book, you can buy this wherever books are sold. Many people are giving them to their friends and family members because they're in a dip. They know. Like, I'm not the only one. If you know somebody that's in a dip, get them the book too. But then I want to encourage you as we give today, thank you for your generosity. Oh, it means the world. We never tell people to give. We simply say, pray, ask God what you should do, and do that. It takes all the pressure off, and there's zero pressure. But a lot of us, we give every week just thanking God, and we honor Him first in our finances. And so we thank you for the $5,000 that we as a church gave to the fire victims last week, and we're responding to the hurricane this week. Devastating hurricane that hit the Gulf, and we're all giving towards that this week. And every other week it seems like we're doing something for our city, our nation, our globe, and it makes me so honored to lead a church that's generous like this. Every time my wife and I write to the check to the church, we're like, man, it's a great investment. We know we're making a difference in people's lives. So thank you for that. And then I want to encourage all of you, don't miss next weekend. All right, everybody? Look, part 4 of Don't Quit in the Dip. Woo! It's going to be amazing. This is the best series to invite your friends to. You never know who's one invitation away. They're in a dip. I promise you that. And if you tell them that we're in a series called Don't Quit in the Dip, we want to help you get out of the dip, there's a very good chance that they can come and their life would be changed. Don't miss this Friday night, ladies. Unleashed Women's Night with Alex Seeley is going to be crazy good, and you can sign up right now at our website. I love you, and I pray right now, may the peace of the Lord be with you and rest over your life, your family, your health, in Jesus' name.